So I had the chance to work with not just Kate Stone, but the Kate Stone on the ecology and diet of long-eared owls on MPG Ranch. Here's the regular scene here. If you were to come to a roost, you see whitewash everywhere and pellets on the ground. It can be hard to identify from pine cones and such on the ground. This is my talk. First, a little natural life history on these owls. Why are we studying long-eared owls? Very little is known on long-eared owls. Then the first panel of our study are pellet analysis. Then the second panel are night surveys to understand how they're utilizing the ranch. We'll talk briefly about movement and dispersal with our future transmitter study that's coming up here in April. And then future research questions and concluding thoughts. A little life history background. It's a medium-sized owl. It's about 15-inch long. It has a wingspan of 36 inches. The breeding season goes roughly between February to July. It's partially migratory, although very little is known about its dispersal and its migration trajectories. The habitat is a forest close to open country, and it uses old stick nest. It doesn't build its nest. It uses other nests from ravens, magpies, hawks. It has an average clutch size of 4 to 6 eggs, and the incubation time is 25 to 30 days. That's for the background. Owls have a circumpolar holarctic distribution, which basically means they range across the northern hemisphere on all continents. In North America, they're listed as endangered in Illinois. They are threatened in Iowa, special concern in other many states, and yet in Montana, we have no understanding of where they go. Denver Holt in western Montana has a long-term study of banding on long-eared owls, but there's a high turnover rate, so we don't know what's happening. Are they dying? Are they going somewhere else? The recapture are very low. Here's a short-eared owl. It has very small ear tufts, yet it still has ears. Ear tufts are not ears. They are long in long-eared owls, and that's thought for them to just act bigger and to camo in trees. Actually, the ear openings are on the side, and they are asymmetrical, so they can visualize more, get a better understanding to where their preys are. I'm looking, but why can't I see it? Well, long-eared owls, even though they're widespread and common in our area, they are a nocturnal species, but they like to conceal themselves in the middle of branches and twigs, and they will not move, and you can sometimes walk right under them and never see it. And so there it is. This was an owl in a sheep camp. What do we know about the owls on MPG? Well, we know that from previous years, we've had incidental detections. We've found 6 nests last year, which are the red spots. Detections without confirmed nests, which are the green dots here on the map. And then during the non-breeding period, we've also found some blue, some detections here in blue. And then we even detected them during previous banding stations during the fall migration. The habitat on MPG is just is prime habitat for them. they use dense vegetation close to open grassland, shrubland, and open forest. So here, for example, in sheep camp, you have these dense vegetation pockets where they can kind of fly around and cover for protection, and they can hunt at night in shrubland and grassland habitat. We have found one chickadee band in the pellet analysis, but they mostly eat voles, deer mice, and here's a skull here of a vole, and every once in a while we'll find a shrew. These are all small mammals that are readily available for these long-eared owls on the ranch. The nesting is the male feeds the female when she's incubating and then feeds her when she's brooding. The female only comes and starts feeding the young once they develop. Here's a nest found in 2010? Last year, in 2012. And I got it written right here. In the North Fork of Sheep Camp, and it's in a Rocky Mountain maple. Once the young are 3 weeks old, they venture on nearby branches. This is a fledgling long-eared owl. At 5 weeks of age, they start their first flight. They are still fed by both adults up to 7 and 8 weeks old, and then the female abandons them, and only the male continues feeding them at 11 weeks of age. So now more into what we are doing on the ranch. First of all, I'll talk about the pellet collection and analysis, then the night surveys, and our future efforts here coming on the transmitters. Here, other signs you could find in the forest: the whitewash on branches, under Douglas firs, and then on the ground. It's harder to find them when they're covered in snow, but with this type of weather we're experiencing, the snow's melting and we're starting to find all the pellets. So the crew collected, the bird crew with Kerr, Debbie, and Kate have collected many pellets. They brought them back to the lab, and they went back to places where we knew they were, where we had detections in 2010, 11, and 12, and they also found new roosts this winter. I'll talk about what I did and how I separated the pellets, and I did each specimen, each prey item, and then raise a few research questions and preliminary results. In this sample, the maggots got there before me, and so I didn't have any more fur to deal with, and all the pellets were decomposed. So all that was left were bones and skulls. In most typical samples, I still have the fur here, and I dissect all the pellets, I count them, and then I separate the skulls. And once we got that, we can ID them using the Montana Mammal Guide that Carrie Forsman published. Most of these skulls are Microtus, which are the voles, and Peromyscus, which are the deer mice. And we only got 3 shrews. We were hoping to get more shrews, but here there's a nice shot of the medial tine on the incisors of masked shrew, Sorex vagrans. Some of the research questions that we are hoping to figure are, does the diet of long-eared owls on the ranch indicate foraging in a particular cover type? And can we use pellet contents to document unusual mammals such as Idaho pocket gopher or Preble shrew? I went over 1,000 specimens and only found 3 shrews. So far, haven't found any unusual mammals outside the ranch. In the preliminary results, we're finding what we were expecting from a literature review. They're eating mostly long-tailed voles that are found all over the shrubby draws and the coniferous forests. Meadow voles are typically more attached to wetlands, but we're finding them throughout the ranch. We have a portion of unknown voles, skulls that were too deteriorated for me to identify, and a pretty big portion of deer mouse. When you sum up all the voles, 84% are voles in the long-eared owl's diet, 14% of deer mice, and only 1.6% of all the other birds, rabbits, ground squirrels, shrews, and insects. Here's a quick graph we put together with Kate. We're trying to understand the spatial and temporal use of these owls and what they're eating on the ranch. And for a little comparison, we separated the northern draws, the middle draws, and the southern draws. And you can start seeing some differences between the deer mice, between draws, but there's a huge difference in the amount of pellets we find in each. For the north draw, I think we have, this is our biggest sample size, but in the middle and southern draws, we only have 50 specimens. So we're dealing with uncertainties and a huge variation. So we need to toughen up our sample size and come back to it hopefully next year. The night surveys are our second portion of our study, and just to give you a little snapshot to what I do 2 or 3 times a week to contact the owls. Kate is going to play a 30-second loop of the long-eared owl callback. So our night surveys take place right after sunset and go until we finish our route. We have routes that take us all the way to about maybe midnight. So it's another 5-6 hour work in the evenings. I've had many volunteers. There's Jeff right there enjoying the cold winter up at South Baldy Ridge. And we've actually been, or I've been really amazed with the results, because long-eared owls are known for being quite non-responsive to calls. They're not the most vocal of owls, but we've found that a lot of long-eared owls, if they don't respond to our playback, they at least come and buzz us. And we've also had owls come and do the bill snap to us. So it's been great. We've been filling up the maps. Here are examples of our routes. These are all owls combined, what we've seen so far in the last 3 weeks of night surveys. We've picked up great horned owls, saw-whet owls, and long-eared owls in blue. And from previous sightings and detections, hopefully we're going to we're going to be able to fill in the gaps. Now, in the third panel of my talk, just wanted to mention we are we have ordered GPS units, and we are planning to pull out 5 GPS transmitters on long-eared owls, and it's been this fight between what we want to do and where the technology is at this day. These units typically weigh 20 to 30 grams. They just came out, North Star just came out with a unit that's 8.5 or 9.5 grams. It's solar powered, but it doesn't give us the accuracy we were hoping for. but hopefully this will already give us preliminary results for the first year of the study. Here is a map that Kay put out for me that combines all the detections, and you can see this year we've found places where the long-eared owls had not been detected in the past 3 years. We've had huge success in the North Draw with 6, 7 long-eared owls in the northern portion of the ranch. We started doing the surveys with Debbie and Woodchuck really early on in places like Davis Creek and the Lower Woodchuck when it was snowing and rainy and windy. And hopefully soon, in the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to go back. It seems like the owls are picking up their vocalizations. The future research questions, well, with the pellets, we could hopefully answer, does the diet of long-eared owls on the ranch indicate foraging in a particular cover type? Accumulating our knowledge with finding the nests and our night surveys and maybe the telemetry, are they making use of dwarf mistletoe brooms for nesting and roosting? A study in 1989 by Evelyn Bull showed that they were mostly using dwarf mistletoe brooms for nesting, and we have a lot of that on the ranch. And then with telemetry, really interesting questions. What is the home range size of individuals, and do they exhibit short or long distance migration? And these are very basic questions. You know, do long-eared owls migrate? We don't even know, and they are found across the world. So even though these are, what I showed you were very preliminary results, there's a lot of questions we are excited to answer in the coming seasons and coming years. And just a quick literature review. These are the references I used. And I'd like to say a big thanks to Debbie, who came out every week with me, Kerr, when he wasn't battling his winter sickness, and Jeff, Mel, and also Dave Dyer at the Zoological Museum, who was great help, even let us use specimens for me to identify, and also Kerry Forsman, who showed great interest last time we talked to him to helping us in future years. Yeah, thank you.